What's going on? Welcome to the Rewatch Ryan YouTube channel. My name is Ryan Snelling, and I feel right at home today. I'm going to talk about the John Campea show and the recent decision to part ways with Meyer, Burnett, and Kris Carr. This happened a couple of weeks ago. I decided to do this video now because I'm more confused and perplexed and frustrated than ever. For those of you who don't know, I used to host official after shows on the Schmoes Know Network and the Collider Network. So I've been in and out of this for a long time. I've watched John Campea stream for 8-9 years or so. Same with Meyer Burnett. I've had a lot of relationships with these people off and on and in this space, and it's been bittersweet. But today I just couldn't hold back because history is repeating itself. And I don't know why people in this space keep going down this road, particularly John Campea, because some of this stuff just doesn't add up at all. Recently, John put out a video with Meyer Burnett talking about their future relationship, and I've seen a million of these videos. John and Rob said, "Oh, everything's good. I simply can't afford to put Rob and Kris on the show anymore, but everything's good. I'm going to sponsor Rob's channel, and you'll see him dip in and out like once a month on my channel. Everything's all good, right?" Rob was excited about the future of his channel, or I should say is excited about the future of his channel and fan base and following, as he should be. As he should be. It's a good thing that he has more time to devote to his content, for sure. Don't get me wrong. On a recent live stream, Midnight Musings, Rob's co-host Lael Rockwell congratulated Rob on the separation from the show. The sentiment was, hey, now you have more focus on your stuff, and which again, I fully support and agree with. But Rob was very candid, and he said that he objected to the fact that John said he couldn't afford Rob and Kris anymore, because John was the one who came up with how much he was going to pay them in the first place. This had me scratching my head a little bit, because I'm wondering, is that the real reason, or is that the reason and it's just so flimsy? So I'm kind of fascinated. So this got me thinking about covering Schmoes Know and Collider. John has also said a couple of things over the past couple of weeks that have been really frustrating to me, so I just kind of wanted to rant. I don't really have a structure to this video. I just wanted to kind of voice my opinion on this whole thing as somebody who's been watching this for years now. First of all, Meyer Burnett, in my opinion, and the reason why this video is a little biased, is one of the best pundits in this space, hands down. He is one of the most knowledgeable. He has a ton of experience in the business, and I think he's the best parts of objective and subjective when it comes to voicing his opinions. I think he's extremely thoughtful and considerate, very articulate, and he gets to do more of that on his content because John kind of has him on a leash and has others on a leash when it comes to his shows because his formatting is so stiff. They were also like peanut butter and jelly. They were a great mix, and Rob, in my opinion, was the most interesting part of the John Campea show. And as somebody who's been watching that show for the past couple of years, trying to get back into the space, a daily viewer of the John Campea show, I'm extremely disappointed that Rob and Kris are no longer on the show. And I'm not just saying this to be angry. I just am not watching the John Campea show anymore because I don't think on his own, with what he does, it's that interesting. So since Rob has been off the show, I haven't watched it. What's disappointing, and the reason why I'm scratching my head and just puzzled by all of this, when John talks about not being able to afford on-screen talent, I immediately think about, this is the person who always talks about how much he values the viewer experience. And sometimes he makes changes to his show that are so minimal, and I wonder, like, did you really think this changes the viewer experience that much? One thing that bothered me, a couple of months ago, John did away with his co-host being able to greet the viewer. So it used to be when he would go to Rob and go to Kris, they all had their own individual greeting, and it made them personable and made me laugh. It was really fun to watch them come onto the show. And then one day he just decided, I'm going to open the show and I'm going to do my whole spiel. It takes 5 minutes to open the John Campea show, and I'm just going to rattle off who else is here, and the first time they get to speak is when I go to them when it comes to the topic. And it's little things like that he thinks changes the game, but it doesn't at all. In fact, they're kind of worse. Now, maybe they're also so small that we don't notice them, but I notice them. And they're just ass-backwards decisions that make no sense whatsoever. The stuff that I question is the hiring of a personal assistant. The stuff that I question when it comes to the viewer. Buying or renting or leasing a massive studio for a YouTube channel, we learned with Screen Junkies and Collider, YouTube, the model was never, ever supposed to sustain talk show level production and staffing. We've learned this lesson a million times over. It was commendable when John left Collider and just started doing the show out of his house. And he started building it up from his house and inviting more people in. Can you outgrow a room in your house? 100%. Is part of that because you need more people, or you think you need more people than you do to run the show? Yes. Do I respect wanting a different environment to free up the show? 100%. I understand that, but it also doesn't have to be that huge studio. I wonder, as the viewer, where's all that Mint Mobile money going? Why am I watching so many ads on top of the YouTube ads, and you still can't pay your on-screen talent, which in my opinion is the most important thing when it comes to viewership. It's not the graphics that you put up. It's not the hot toys on your desk. It's not the lighting. It's not the camera on a dolly for whatever reason on a YouTube show. It's not having 3 people behind the scenes who interject. It's the on-screen talent. I think my main point is that there was so much room to make changes in how you do things that make your time worthwhile and more money worthwhile than getting rid of the 2 people that balance you out. Because it is very easy for John to become a blowhard with some of this stuff. And the fact that there were always other people's opinions made him easier to swallow. And I respect John. I don't think he's always the easiest person to watch. Sometimes, like I said, my eyes roll out of my head sometimes when he speaks. But he is thoughtful and he does prep. And that's what I look for in my content. But I still question the amount of effort that goes into YouTube content in general. And I respect it to an extent that, what he's done has gotten the viewership time and time again. But literally just a couple of weeks ago, John said something like, I was worried about my content becoming Collider 3.0. Dude, the second you hit record out of your room and had other people on camera, it was Collider 3.0. Because your refusal to do anything else other than this type of movie talk show and the way that it's structured and the way that it's stiff and rigid, it's the same show. It doesn't matter whether you get your topics from the viewers or not. It's the same structure. So those things that come off as valuing the viewership experience, they don't really have the impact that you think they do. Because if you just decided, there would be an outcry, but if you decided to get rid of that, I don't think it would change a thing. Because then it just goes back to being Collider, which people liked too. So it's not necessarily that his content is bad. It's not necessarily that it's not working. It's the fact that you say you don't have enough money, and I'm looking at all these things that in my opinion you could cut before you cut the most important thing to the viewer, which is your on-screen talent. So I don't know if this really goes beyond this rant or goes beyond this video, because ultimately I've just decided I know that I'm going to be watching more content on Rob's channel. I know that I'm not going to go back to the John Campea show unless Rob, I'll watch it if other people are on it for sure, but it's not going to be a daily fixture in my life anymore. And I'm not even saying that to be a whiny baby. It's just, I'm just watching what I want to watch. I'm just watching what I like. And it's that. John has said things that make no sense to me whatsoever. I feel like this stuff has been proven. Again, the ability to sustain this on a YouTube channel, I'm actually not surprised at all. I just don't know how we got back to here when we could have known this lesson all along. The fact that Rob is such an incredible on-screen talent and the dynamic between him and John is great. It makes me wonder why, after all these years, can't adopt what stand-up comedians have adopted for formatting their podcasts has been and proven to be wildly successful, where they do have a set, a small set, and they have one producer, and then they have just 2 people sitting there on camera with no structure whatsoever. And if there is a bit of a structure, maybe it's because they're going to the producer who puts something on a screen and then they just chat about it. I think that he's missed the mark on what the viewership actually values. This kind of stuff is just silly. and preventable. I think if there was a vote between keeping Rob on and like selling John's hot toys on his desk to pay for it, those are my personal hot toys. You get my point. Anyway, that's my rant. I'd be curious to know what you think down below in the comment section. This was kind of fun, not gonna lie, to talk about this a little bit more. It's been years since I've done anything like this, but also I'm probably gonna regret it and cry myself to sleep. Let me know what you think of this John Campea situation down below. That's all I got. Follow me on the internet, wherever you get things on the internet, at Rewatch Ryan. You can check out my podcast, Watch Diary. There's also a show on that feed called Hot Takes and Sausage, which is just me chit-chatting with my boy Brando. And so it's a good time. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next thing I do.